Hello everybody, and welcome to the Holistic Growth Show, where it is my aim to equip students with essential skills and strategies and knowledge that, quite frankly, isn't taught in schools. My name is Tim Evertse, and please enjoy the show. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Holistic Growth Show. As you can see, we have transitioned to video. I always wanted to do this, to be honest. It didn't feel really comfortable with me just saying the things out loud. I found that I was a lot more awkward for some reason when the camera wasn't on as opposed to when the camera was on. So, of course, we have transitioned over to video. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy seeing my, well, slightly beautiful face. And yeah, so this week we are actually talking about everybody's favorite topic at the moment, university. So I am quite proud to say that I got provisional acceptance into UCT, which is one of the top schools in South Africa, uh, in the Western Cape as well, where I live. I live in Cape Town. And I didn't just get accepted into UCT, I got accepted into UCT, Stellies, and Rhodes, which are three of the top performing universities in South Africa. And so this episode of the podcast is just going to be about my strategy and sort of how I got the provisional acceptance. This isn't really going to be a definite strategy, but more along the lines of stuff that I wish I was told before before applying and before getting provisional acceptance. You know, things like knowing what provisional acceptance actually means, things like tips on how to apply for your degree, tips on, like what's the application process actually like, those sorts of things. So I hope that you enjoy what I have to say and that it helps you. Let's get into it. I found that when I was applying to these universities, to University of Cape Town, to Stellenbosch University, and to Rhodes University, I found that they usually ask you to apply for three different degrees. And so what I found was just like it's good to have three degrees as a set choice that you're going to apply to all three or more of your universities. I feel like a good framework for your degree, for choosing your degrees, would be if your degrees answer these three questions. A, is it something that you want? Of course, it has to be something that you want because otherwise you wouldn't be motivated to study for it. You wouldn't be motivated to study once you're in university to study for the degree, and you wouldn't really feel fulfilled and feel like you have purpose. So make sure you know it's something that you want. Next, make sure that it's something that's easy to get into. Of course, you will have your main degree that you want to get, and then you will have your backup degree. Your backup degree is there in the case that you don't actually get in on your first degree, but then you at least have a backup option. Because oftentimes you will find that, anything can happen. Maybe your marks drop, maybe you suddenly just don't want a degree anymore, maybe for whatever reason they just don't accept you into that faculty, into that degree or course. I have some friends who are at university and they have told me that it's easier to get in. It's easier that once you get into universities to switch your degrees from there than it is to apply to a degree and then while in the application process switch course. It's much more difficult to do that and then far less likely to accept you than if you're already in the university and change. So make sure that you can at least get into university with a degree that's easy to get into, and then you can switch and change course. And then thirdly, make sure that it's a niche degree. Niche as in something that not a lot of people can get into. So something like a language, something like an art form, usually degrees like that, not a lot of people apply to it. And because not a lot of people apply to those degrees, it's usually easier to get into that because, the pool is a lot smaller, and so you're more likely to get into those degrees. And since our main aim is to guarantee entrance into university, because once you get into university, it's then easier to switch course. So if your degree choices can answer those three questions, i.e., is it something that you want? Is it something that is easy to get into? And is it something niche, as in something that not a lot of people can get into? Then you're well on your way to probably getting accepted. So the next thing comes this buzzword, provisional acceptance. So what is provisional acceptance? Well, the literal definition means we accept you provided you have certain marks. So obviously you only get accepted based on your marks at the end of the year. So your final matric marks are the only thing that gets you accepted into university. But obviously you don't have your end of year marks until the end of the year, or at least until January, once everything has been marked and once your marks have been published. Those are the only times where you have your marks. So in the meantime, what universities do is that they give you provisional acceptance, i.e., they look at your current marks that you have, whether it's term two or prelim slash mock marks. And what they do is they look at those marks and they say, okay, you need to get 70% to get into degree X. You currently have 85%. So based on your current marks, provided you have at least 70% at the end of the year, we will give you an acceptance letter, i.e., based on your current marks, we accept you provided you maintain these marks. And so that means if you get to the end of the year and you need a 70, right? Let's say you get it to the end of the year and you get 85 still, then you accept it. If you get an 80, you accept it. If you get a 75, you accept it. If you get a 70, you accept it. However, if you get a 60 or 65 or a 68 or what something that is below the requirement, that's when they say, okay, look, we can't accept you because you didn't get the required stand. And so that's what provisional acceptance is. And most universities offer provisional acceptance. I think all the ones that I applied to, UCT, Stellies, and Rhodes, offer provisional acceptance. And so it's often good to just look at the mark requirements to get into your degree, so that you can study for those marks and then maximize those study times and maximize your marks during term two and mocks slash prelims, and so that by the end of the year you at least sort of guaranteed acceptance into university. And that's the only thing really. Provisional acceptance isn't actually them accepting you. Well, it is them accepting you, but it doesn't mean you're gonna get accepted. Provisional acceptance is there because it's there as a sort of don't want to say safety net, but it's more like a peace of mind in a way. It gives you peace of mind in the sense that, okay, if I still have these marks at the end of the year, then I will be accepted. And the likelihood is that you will have those marks at the end of the year. Because, of course, if you found a way to get 85% in term two and term three slash mock slash prelims, you're probably going to have it again at the end of the year. So it's more of a peace of mind than anything. But obviously, it can also be used as an acceptance letter. The acceptance letter they give you when you get provisional acceptance, it can also be used when applying for funding. It can be used when applying to whatever sort of funding program or bursary program that you want to get into. Usually bursary programs want you to have provisional acceptance to show that, okay, you are accepted into a university and therefore you actually are worth us funding because, university accepted you already. So yeah, that's basically what provisional acceptance is. And when I was in grade 11, there was a lot of confusion as to what your provisional acceptance marks were actually based on, or what your university marks were actually based on. So provisional acceptance marks are based on the marks that are closest to your final marks. So that means that if you only have your grade 11, end of year grade 11 marks, and if you only have your term one matric marks, your term one matric marks will be more favored than your end of year grade 11 marks. Your term two matric marks will be more favored than your term one marks. Your term three slash mock slash prelim marks will be more favored than your term two marks. So the closer you get towards your finals, the more favored those marks are over in terms of, if you have term 3 marks versus if you have final year grade 11 marks, they're going to pick the term 3 marks. So don't really stress if you have a bad grade 11 end of year. Don't really stress about that. You don't really also need to stress if you have a bad term 1 mark. Usually term 2 and term 3 is where you have to put in the work and maximize your marks. And term 2 and term 3 in matric. Don't really worry about a bad grade 11 mark or a bad matric term 1 mark. I just wish someone had told me that before I went and basically killed myself with all the work that I did and with all the stress that I put myself through and the pressure I put myself through to get good marks at the end of grade 11. So, how do you know if you have provisional acceptance? Well, you first need to meet the criteria for your degree. And where do you find the criteria for your degree? Well, you can check the undergraduate prospectus. If you just search on Google, whatever university name plus undergraduate prospectus and the year that you're applying for, you will usually find the current degrees or the current standard that you need for those degrees. And I know that most university websites aren't really well designed and they aren't really well maintained. So sometimes they are a little bit difficult to maneuver, but usually you just need to search and do a number of different searches and try and find a PDF or something like that that is as close um, to the original source as in the university's website or maybe a bursary website or whatever website that is has as a reputable website or the website of a reputable foundation or organization that is closely linked to the university or in some way. Now, in terms of the actual application that you need to fill out, usually the applications open up in April of whatever year that you're applying for. So it's 2023 this year. The applications for UCT, Stellies, and Rhodes opened up in 2023, April 2023, and next year they'll open up in April 2024, probably open up in April 2025 again. So usually around April time, usually in the first week of April or so, they will usually open up. And my suggestion would be to apply really early. I know sometimes people want to wait until they have their term 2 marks or wait until they have the term 3 marks, but I really do suggest apply early. And the reason why is because when you make your online application, you need to upload your marks anyway. And what I found, especially for UCT, what I found is that when you apply and when you upload your marks, they're always going to want you to upload your most recent report. So if you apply in term one, obviously you apply with your term one report. But then by the time term two comes around, you're going to need to upload your term two marks. And by the time term three comes around, you need to upload your term three marks. And so while the applications might close at the end of July, for the at the end of July, you can still upload your marks and you can still change your marks as your reports come out. So I would say apply really early and get ahead of the curve because the earlier you apply, usually they get back to you quickly or get back to you early before the big rush towards the end of the application cycle. And so that would be my suggestion. Just apply early and this because the sooner you have communication from them, the better. In terms of the application is usually an hour long. It's really not long. You probably just set aside an hour on any particular day. Maybe the day that it opens up, you can set aside an hour and you can just send it off. Make sure you get that thing out because, like I say, the sooner you get it done, the better. Usually, you can go onto the website of the university and you can just click apply and then make a profile. Because what you don't actually fill out an application form like a Google form or a physical form. You actually just make a profile for yourself. So the same way you would make a social media profile on, say, Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or whatever social media platform you use, the same way you make a social media profile, you make a university profile and you get a specific number for your application and you need to fill in specific details. And then usually there's like 16 or so parts to your application. You can usually just fill in the information, upload the required documents, and then move on. And like I say, it usually takes about an hour. Once you get it done, you can just send it off. You can click upload, and from there, people usually get back to you in about a week or so. They usually don't take that long. I personally found that for UCT anyway, UCT was the one university that I really wanted to get into, and yeah. So with UCT, what they do is that if you apply and you don't are not able to get provisional acceptance. As in, if you don't get in and you don't meet the requirements for that particular degree, they don't like throw you out immediately. They just tell you to, okay, you didn't meet your requirements now. This is the requirements that you have to meet. And so we encourage you to keep trying. They will always just say, okay, look, you didn't meet it now, but you might meet it again in the future. So just keep on trying, keep on getting back to us. And so every time your report comes out, until you get that provisional acceptance, they won't throw you out. The only time they will actually throw you out is like obviously at the very end when when in January after your final results, and then and if you don't meet your stand at the final results, they will just reject you only there. But yeah, that's why I say apply really early, because if you wait until you have the perfect report, maybe by the time you have the perfect report, the applications would have actually closed, and then you can't apply. You can't apply to that university. You can't get in, and so that's why I say apply early, because they don't reject you if you don't meet the standard for provisional acceptance. They will just tell you, look, you didn't meet the standard this time, so keep on trying. And when you do try, and when you do get in, then you get in and you get accepted, and then you can just ride it out until the end of year. So yeah, those are some things that I wish I was told at the start of this journey, at the start of applying to university. What provisional acceptance is actually like, and what marks is based on, things like degree, choosing your degree and degree options. uh yeah, those are just some things that I wish I was told, and I hope that they help you as well. So yeah, I hope you have a lush one, and I guess I will see you for the next episode. Bye bye.